Sadly, there isn't a lot I can do in the bonsai garden at this time of year, but what I can do is offer you my top 10 pick of intermediate level bonsai books. To make this list, I consider an intermediate level book to be one that covers bonsai techniques in a little bit more detail, focuses on a specific species or technique, or offers high quality, inspiring images of bonsai trees. Also, books only make this list if I've been able to actually get hold of a copy myself and I've read that book. I wouldn't want to recommend to you books which I haven't been able to read. So for example, that means John Knacker's Bonsai Techniques Volumes 1 and 2, which sell for silly money on eBay, even for copies that are falling to bits. So let's have a look and see what my recommendations are. My number 10 pick is this, Literati Style Penjing by Master Zhao Qingquang. It's a beautiful hardcover book which covers Literati bonsai trees and their development in quite some detail. And it's full of these really amazing pictures and examples of really classic Literati bonsai. The book is actually one in a series of books by the same author, and I recommend all of them, in all honesty. As the titles might suggest, this is bonsai from a Chinese perspective, and beautifully done. As someone who loves the Shohin bonsai trees in particular, this next book, Bonsai Sh Him Passion by Roland Schatzer, is a great little addition to anybody's library. It's full of lots of really wonderful images of the smaller bonsai trees. And what's particularly great about this book is that each example talks you through the development of the tree over a number of years. And so it's great in setting expectations and giving you an idea of what kind of thing is achievable and in what kind of time frame. And you can see the images really are quite wonderful. And to me, this is what bonsai is all about: beautiful, tiny trees. This book, Satuki Bonsai by Janine Drost, is a book that makes the list based on the fact that it looks at a specific species of tree in quite a lot of detail. And in this case, obviously, it's focused on care and cultivation of Satsuki or Satsuki Azalea Bonsai. And there are lots of wonderful images and details about different varieties and variants of tree. Images of all the different flower variants and combinations, and then it goes into a lot of detail about specific care needs for those trees, how to prune them and develop them, what their needs are in terms of things like watering. And then there is a gallery of some stunning imagery of Satsuki or Satsuki Azalea bonsai trees. And if that's your thing, if you're interested in flowering bonsai, then this really is a great resource for you, which I heartily recommend. This book, Deadwood Design, Special Techniques for Bonsai, is by European-based Argentinian Andre Bicoca. It's got some absolutely beautiful imagery in here. And the book details what tools to use, various techniques for carving deadwood and creating deadwood features on your bonsai trees, and turning those into not just features, but really beautiful works of art. The pictures really are something. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. This book, Bonsai Today Master Series Pines, is another book that made the list because it covers the cultivation and development of pine bonsai trees in great detail. A lot of the content of the book, I believe, is made up of articles which featured in Bonsai Today magazine, and they've all been pulled together in this one place to form a really detailed reference on development and cultivation of pine trees, whether that's white pines, red pines, black pines, and some of the European pine trees. It covers those in great detail, explaining various techniques that can be used to refine them. And obviously, as you can see here, it's got lots of really wonderful images of refined trees. If you're someone who's interested in developing pine trees and developing those to a high level, then this really is the resource for you. Another great book in the same series is this, the Bonsai Today Master Series Junipers book, which does exactly the same thing, but this time for junipers. So again, if junipers are your thing and you want to know the best techniques for developing those to a high level of refinement, then this really is another great book for you. Again, it's pulled together from articles and information which was in Bonsai Today magazine and supplemented with additional information on the care and cultivation of all species or variants of juniper. I'm not aware of another resource which is as detailed as this on the subject of juniper development. And you can see it includes some amazing examples of bonsai trees and some great photographs. Peter Adams was a prominent figure in the bonsai community who originally came from England, and although he sadly passed away a number of years ago, he left behind a number of great books on bonsai, and my favourite is this one, Bonsai with Japanese Maples. It's a great book with lots of worked examples of Japanese maples and how to develop those through to becoming bonsai. It covers some basic bonsai techniques in quite a lot of detail, and there's some great diagrams in here. And then the latter part of the book is talking through a number of project trees and how those were developed over a number of years. It's certainly a book which I've learned a lot from, and although it was published a number of years back now, and some of the details in there, particularly about things like bonsai soil, may be a little bit outdated, in terms of the general principles, it's really a great book. And if you're interested in developing Japanese maples, I definitely suggest that you search out a copy of this book. Bonsai Heresy. It's a great read from American bonsai artist Michael Hagedorn, who's a Japanese trained bonsai artist. What's great about this particular book is it takes a number of established bonsai practices or thoughts and dismantles them. Based on observation and study, Michael takes a number of strongly held beliefs and looks at those in great detail. And the book might be considered a little bit controversial to some, perhaps, but I believe this is a book that should be on every serious bonsai enthusiast shelf, and I would suggest that you probably need to read it at least once a year. It really is a great read. This book, Modern Bonsai Practice, by Larry Morton and featuring images by Walter Paul, is another book which I think really deserves to be on any serious bonsai enthusiast's shelves. It looks at a number of areas of practice and development with bonsai in quite a lot of almost academic detail. In fact, Larry Morton is an academic, I believe, and he's looked at various peer-reviewed studies and analysed those as they pertain to bonsai and various bonsai practices. It sounds perhaps like a little bit of a dry book, but in fact it's full of nuggets of information. And he will take a particular aspect of bonsai and he will analyse that in quite some detail and looking at whether or not that is in fact true. And the book covers, for example, pruning, practices regarding fertilizers, what the tree actually needs, the aspects of bonsai soil, and there are over 500 different sort of questions or points that the book covers. And that's the first half of the book, which is really valuable and full of lots of information that some people might also find quite controversial or may possibly disagree with, but it's all information which is backed up by academic study and scientific research, which is what makes it such an interesting read. The back half of the book then is filled with all these amazing images of the trees of German bonsai artist Walter Paul, who's famed for his more naturalistic approach to bonsai tree development. This book's not an inexpensive book, it's quite a pricey book, but if you're serious about bonsai, it's certainly worth having this on your shelves, and it's a reference book which I dip into from time to time. So here then is my number one pick, and it's really a series of books which I found to be game changers, and it's the Bonsai Inspirations series by Harry Harrington, the British bonsai artist. What I found particularly useful and what makes these books is the fact that in addition to explaining and setting out various bonsai techniques in quite some detail, it takes a number of trees through from raw material and explains over a number of years how those trees were developed and the techniques that were used on those. It's another book that over time sets your expectations in terms of what is realistically achievable, what techniques to use to achieve that, and the timeframes over which that can be realistically achieved. To me, as I say, this is a real game changer of a book, and I really can't recommend this book highly enough. Obviously, in addition to the great articles and details of how to develop the trees, are some fantastic pictures of those trees in a highly developed state. So what did you think of my list? Do you agree with my picks? Is there a book that you think should have been included that I missed? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.